Hi everyone. So today I have special guest today again. Please welcome Jor'El Mitchell from NextBot here. He is business and branding strategist, and he also do what you love activist. We will get more on that. He created the CyberCelebrity Branding that's help personal branding, the art of getting known, respected, remembered, and paid for who you truly are. Thank you for joining me today, Jor'El.
Thank you very much for having me.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So I guess a good place to start is where the journey started within itself, and literally how I ended up where I am today, because I didn't actually think that I would have necessarily taken this path to get here, where I'm able to, share my knowledge and my know-how through the power of branding. Because when I was younger, I was very much working towards what I call was my plan A. I was going to be a performer. So I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to perform. I liked singing, acting, the whole 9 yards. And I had really great promise towards that. At the age of around 13, I had what was, for me, a life-changing accident. I kind of fell from a great height while I was trying to do a gymnastics move, and I landed on my head and neck. And at that particular moment, everything in my life changed, and the trajectory that I was on totally shifted. And in that moment, I was really, really confused. I was in a lot of physical pain. I didn't really know how to redefine myself. I didn't really know what I could do past this point. After having the accident, I ended up in hospital. I ended up being in cast for 18 months. And I had several operations to get myself back on my feet. So could you imagine going from being really active, really enjoying life, performing on stage, singing, to literally being bedridden for 18 months? It was a terrifying experience for me. And in that desperation to try and find myself again, I took the route which we had been promised via school, which was to get a good education, go to work, and work really, really hard, and eventually you get your pension, and then you can retire when you're 70. And in that moment, I just didn't know what other choice I had. And I'm sure many people can kind of relate. You're working towards something, you have dreams, you have goals, and then you have this massive fork in the road, and you just don't know what to do. So I ended up finding myself stuck in a 9-to-5 job. I actually trained to be an engineer, and I ended up in a 9-to-5 job, which was paying me handsomely. I was getting a really, really, really good wage. I was a contractor and everything, but inside I felt dead. I was turning up every single day. I felt like I was pushing somebody else's agenda, and it was a far cry from what I had really wanted to do. And I think like just doing this 9-to-5 job, when you're not doing something that's in alignment with who you are, it slowly but surely eats away at your soul, and it slowly but surely dims away at your shine. And after a while, you could be what's termed as the walking dead, where you're just on this treadmill, this never-ending treadmill of getting up, going to work, coming back home knackered, then going to bed to do it all over again. And after about 6 years of living life like this, I decided that things had to change. But I really didn't know what to do, and I just looked to the internet. The internet had come out. I'd seen people popping up online, and I was like, well, how have they done it? And can I do the same? And I'm sure that's questions that people ask. We see these successful people, and the question is, how have they done it, and can we do the same? So I went on that journey. I went on that trajectory, and I started to really research and get into it. And as part of my research, I bumped into the concept of personal branding. And I remember being invited to a seminar which led onto a workshop. And I was really, really skeptical, because in my mind, I had a preconceived notion of what branding was. I thought branding was about making something look good, or, a logo and fonts and all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I don't really see how this applies to me. It's probably more suited to someone that does business. But when you're desperate, and when you feel like you've tried every single avenue possible, if you really, really want to try and make your dream a reality, you begin to think outside of the box. And so I attended this seminar, and the one thing that I did was I had an open mind. And I can tell you that that was the most life-changing decision I had ever made. A light bulb went off in my head. And I suddenly realized that there was a route out. I didn't have all the answers, don't get me wrong, it wasn't an overnight success, but I could see a light at the end of the tunnel to start actually living my truth. And one of the things, when I really delved into what was going wrong, it was about being able to live my truth. And I'm sure many of your listeners have felt the same, where, you know, if you're in a 9-to-5 job which you're not enjoying, you don't feel like you're living your truth. And so I started on this branding game, and I began to realize that branding was so much more than just pretty pictures or fonts or taking a couple of selfies and put it on social media. But branding was more about, who are you at your core? What is it that you have to offer the world? And how do you want to express that? And I realized that all of the information that had been out there, that had been shared to us online, lots of that free stuff, wasn't really getting to the true essence of how powerful branding could be. And then I began to look at like people who use branding as their recipe to get success, you know, our celebrities that we know, like, and trust. Some people say they're celebrities, some people see them as gurus, just people who you look up to, right? And I then began to think, okay, they always refer to themselves as a brand. You know, it's the first thing they talk about. Whenever they're in an interview, they're referring to themselves as a brand. There's something deeper here. And that's when I began to unpick it and uncover it. And then I began to now see it as a pathway to get myself out there. So what did I first do? I set myself up an Instagram account. In fact, I had it there for a little while. And I remember once I kind of got the confidence, you know, because it's always about fear. Like, you know, what will people say when you put yourself out there? Or will I be ridiculed? What will my family think? What will my friends think? All of these limiting beliefs. But I got to that point where it was like, it's just do or die. Just go for it. It's no point living your life in fear, you know, and it's they call it false evidence appearing real. You know, you don't have any evidence about what's going to happen in the future, but yet still we use it as a benchmark to hold ourselves back. So stepping out of that fear, I posted my very first picture. And then I started sharing some of my values and my beliefs. I then began to understand what my mission was, and I began to articulate that. And the more that I began to share was the more that I began to get a response. And then my Instagram following started to grow. And then I went from like 10 followers, then to 500, then I went to 1,000. Then gradually I got to 8,000, 9,000 within a year. And, you know, when you do something and you get a good response, sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, but it's a response. There's an element of a validation there where you begin to recognize that there are people out there that really want your knowledge. You know, they really want what you have to offer, you know, and there'll be a tribe that you can begin to attract. And I started to attract my tribe. And that just spurred me on. And then it got to the point where I started to get asked to do events like hosting and presenting and turning up to red carpets and interviewing people on the red carpet. And then I found myself interviewing dignitaries from all around the world. And then I think the crux of it came was I was asked to do a public speaking gig, and I turned up, and there were several people inside the room who rushed over to me. And they were like, oh my gosh, we've been watching your journey and we're huge fans of yours. And they wanted to take a selfie with me. And that was a bit surreal, but it then began to really kind of cement that home, that if you've got a message and if you've got some challenges that you've been through that you're willing to be vulnerable and help other people with, you're going to connect with people. And you never know, that's the thing, you never know what or who you are connecting with and how that's going to change their life. And so, so everything kind of began to grow from there. And then one of the things I realized was that there was lots of other people in a similar situation to me, you know, people that had got stuck in 9-to-5 jobs that they really didn't like, people who wanted to get their messages out there but didn't really know how to express it. And I then wanted to look at, well, I've done this, I've monetized it, but how do I now actually cement that and turn it into a business? And that's when I created my product, NextSpot, which is effectively a way for people to, what I call, create a good first impression. And it gives you, it's a tool or a resource that you can use to showcase either your message, your product, or your service. And you can help people connect with it in one page. And I created this template where you could literally fill the template in 5 minutes with your best photos. Almost think of like an elevator pitch. So you have your best photos, your best audios, your best pictures, and you put a little bit about your bio together. And what I began to realize that it was a way to replace the digital business card. Way to replace the traditional business card. Because, you know, we're out there and we're expressing, but we're living in a new world right now. And, you know, having a paper business card, number one, it's not healthy for the environment. And it's all about being socially conscious. I think we all have our role to play. Number two, people can't really connect with it. You can't click on a link and really meet the person. So I wanted to kind of change that. And also I felt that social media at the present moment in time is too saturated in the sense that you can't really guide people through the experience you want them to have of you, as it were. So it means that you put a really great post, but then within a couple of minutes, your post is at the bottom of your feed. And so people don't actually get to see the content. So what I thought was we needed a middle ground, something where you could share who you are, but also take people on the journey that you want them to go on. And that's how the Next Spot press kit was born. And so stepping into the realm of business, I then began to realize how difficult it was to actually start earning from that.
Yeah.
You know, we have great ideas, but earning is a whole different story.
Yeah.
And it was the combination between understanding my unfair advantage, which was who I am, recognizing who I could help because of the journey that I had been on so far, that I was able to really craft and cater what I did and my information I wanted to share for my audience and attract my tribe. And so through doing that process, that's what really helped me to be able to scale my business. And using all of those kind of tools, it took me from struggling in a 9-to-5 job to actually being able to get out there and start piecing together what it is that I wanted to do, to being able to run my successful business full time. And that's kind of been the trajectory and the journey that I've been on.
Wow, that's amazing. I believe many people can resonate with your story.
Thank you.
Yeah, and unfortunately, currently, when we're recording this, it's still hopefully at the end of the lockdown.
Yes.
But still that people might discover their interest extra from the 9-to-5 job, right? Since they sit at home, they might find their hobbies able to help others and can make money from it. I mean, why not, right? But the thing is that how can they stand out from the crowd when there are so many people doing quite similar thing in the market? What would your input on that?
You've hit the nail on the head. And it's about standing out. The digital landscape is so saturated, and like it gives you the freedom to really begin to start sharing and building an audience. It's an opportunity that we've never had in our history. This is a whole new time. You know, going back to CyberCelebrity Branding, one of the things that spurred the name for that was because I believe that for too long, we had been held back. We were told by the gatekeepers, those that ruled the airways, you know, the TV, the billboards, the radio stations, they dictated to us who we could consume our messages from. And so as a result, anyone that had a message but they didn't deem was beautiful enough or weren't willing to push the agenda that they wanted them to push, they pushed them out of the market and did not give us access to our audience. So trying to grow a business in that era before the birth of the internet was terrible, was difficult, was hard. And we were told that we had to become, you know, experts in our field. That was like the glass ceiling. You could become an expert in your field, okay? But again, I looked at these celebrities and lots of them were not sharing information that I necessarily thought was really good for their audiences, if you understand. And they were putting a lot of messages out there that could be quite harming. But then we had a whole new group of people who really had genuine messages, that really wanted to serve, really wanted to help others, being locked out of the marketplace. And then that's what the internet did. It leveled the playing field. And so for me, that gave me the opportunity to redefine the term celebrity. I don't even go with the process of an influencer, because again, it's almost creating that divide between them, the celebrities, and again, you can get as far as an influencer. However, I believe that there's a new generation of celebrity called the cyber celebrity. And that's people like you and I who dare to dream, okay? That dare to connect with their message, take a step and really look at connecting with their tribe. And so in order to tap into that cyber celebrity that we all have, the very first thing, the very first step, coming back to what you were asking about with regards to coming to the end of lockdown, maybe discovering a few passions or talents or skills that you have that could be of benefit to other people. But how do you stand out? The way that you do it is really tapping into who you are. Understanding what makes you different to everybody else. And science proves it, okay? What science says is that there's 7 billion, they claim 7 billion people on the planet, okay? You take 2 thumbprints and put them on a piece of paper, and no 2 thumbprints will match. So that tells me that we are all made of a very unique design. Okay? Now, oftentimes what can hold people back is they feel that they need to have some big idea, some huge notion of before they can step out there, doing something totally new or something creative. Well, listen here, I'm going to break that right now, okay? Because there is nothing new under the sun. If people are listening right now, if they've got a pen and paper, I want them to write that down. There is nothing new under the sun. Okay, so then you may challenge me. You'll be like, well then, so then how do we even become inventive? How do we become innovators? How do we become creative? It's all about your fresh and unique take on something that's already out there. Okay, if we look at this internet game, okay, if we think about all of these things that have been given birth to on the internet, let's take Uber, for example. I always say to someone, if you want to get out there and you want to start, just observe your surroundings. Look at what's going on around you. And then think, how could I make that into a digital experience? Okay, this is a knowledge bomb that I'm dropping right here because it's so important. You know, Uber has just found a way to take the customer service of catching a cab and bringing it online. It's not necessarily creating something new, it's just a fresh take on it. You know, even myself, when I talked about NextSpot, I noticed that there was a problem that people had physical cards that were harming our environment and weren't really helping them to spread their message. You take a business card, the likelihood is it's going to end up in your bag, and then a couple of days later it ends up in the bin. Or if you collect them, which I know some people do, they have books, loads of them, you don't even remember who you got the business card from. You don't understand what they do, so you don't know how they're going to help you. So it's sitting on your shelf collecting dust. So I, recognizing that, I said, well, there must be a way to solve that challenge. And as a result, I took that physical experience and turned it into a digital one, okay? So there is nothing new under the sun. It's about tapping into who you are as a person, your values, your beliefs, okay? Your message, what do you want to say? What fires you up? What makes you passionate? If you have a business already, why did you want to create that business? Okay, what was the real reason behind that? But not only that, don't separate yourself from your business, because now we have an opportunity to stand up and we have an opportunity to really show people who they're doing business with. And people need that. People want to do business with other people, real people they resonate with. So if you're not stepping up and using your personal brand and being the face of your business like Steve Jobs was to Apple or Richard Branson is to Virgin, then you're actually doing your business a disservice and you're not serving the amount of people that you can serve, okay? So really understand who it is that who you are at the core, investigate those things, your values and your beliefs, but then also understand it's not a selfish thing, it's a two-way process, okay? So by identifying your life experience, and this is one of the things that I teach. I teach people how to identify their life experience, going back to their earliest memory, as far back as they could possibly remember. And then chronologically tracking every single light bulb moment, every single moment in the road where something caused a shift in your life, something that really stands out for you. You know, you could start back as your earliest memory of being 5, and you can come to the age of 10 and something could have shifted. Your parents could have had a divorce, or, you know, you could have joined piano classes, whatever the transition or the fork in the road was. And it can also be negative. You see, personal branding can be a very healing journey, because oftentimes we want to leave our past behind us and we want to lock those painful points away. We don't want to look at them. We don't want to face them. However, what we need to recognize is everything is energy. Everything is energy. So something that was negative, with the right switch and vibration, could be turned into something positive. And the way that I find that you can do that is by understanding how you can use that painful experience and how you overcame it to help somebody else. And once you recognize that every single thing that you've been on in your life, both good and bad, has been there to create something within you that separates you from everybody else, because everybody's life journey and experience will be different. So once you recognize that that was the design of your life purpose and that it unlocks your calling, now begin to look at those pain points and who you could help to avoid those pitfalls that you fell into. And that's how you begin to identify your market, your group of people that you can serve. And looking at that simple trajectory, your life story, tapping into your values, your beliefs, your passions, your talents and your skills, all of those, that beautiful mix that make us unique, connected with who you can serve to overcome some of those challenges you've been on, is your ticket to escaping a 9-to-5 job, is your ticket to growing your business. That story will resonate with your audience. It will attract them. It will bring your audience to you and stop you being on that daily chase all the time. You know, if you're a coach or a consultant, you're constantly chasing, you know, and you've got something great to offer. You tell someone about it, but they don't see the value in it. So you give them a free strategy session, and what happens? They don't show up, you know, or they cancel without telling you. And that's because they don't have a high enough perceived value of what it is that you have to offer. You know, imagine if it was Oprah, okay? Do you think someone wouldn't just show up to Oprah? But why? It's because within our minds, we have a high perceived value of who she is. That's what it is. And when we talk about celebrity, I don't mean celebrity in the traditional sense. It's not this, you know, dream or this ambition to try and, you know, be like a celebrity. Effectively, what I'm saying is helping you to understand how you can raise your perceived value so that people can recognize what you have to offer, so you can get your message out there, so you can help more people, you know? And this is created over time. It's created via exposure, okay? And this is one of the things that branding will do for you. As you can see, I've got my branding behind me. And that's one element of branding, you know, having a message and making things look good, okay? But your brand is an asset. It's a tool to help you to do your job more effectively. Now, let's talk about the wild, wild west of the internet, okay? Because it's a wild, wild west. You never know who you're going to bump into. Yeah, you never know who's going to bump into your profile or who's going to bump into your message. So what your brand is meant to do, it's meant to meet the person and greet them. Let's say, imagine you meet a friend for the first time. It greets them. And when you're building a relationship, when you move from being an acquaintance to going into the realm of becoming a good friend, there's certain information that you need to know from that person. You need to go into the deeper fabric of who they are. And if someone never lets you in, you can never really, truly cement a great friendship. Yeah? So your brand is that opportunity for someone to really begin to start to understand who you are. It then helps them to unpick what you potentially have to offer to them. And depending on what pain point or what reason they are looking or searching and they bumped into you for, they need to be able to contextualize that what you have to offer is relevant to them. And that's why you need to have certain brand collaterals, pieces of collateral that can really help your brand to be effective. Okay, a piece of collateral could be a really good video which really talks to your audience and offers the opportunity for them to understand what it is that you have to offer. And knowing that branding is not just a short-term game, okay? Someone encountering your brand, let's say on the internet, may not be ready to buy right there and then. So when you're creating a brand, you have to understand the short-term, the mid-term, and the long-term game. And that's that's at the heart of what cyber celebrity branding is, because it's getting you to the point where you can begin to understand how you can own a neuron in the brain of your potential customer or client or follower. So that when they have the problem you are the solution to, they instantly think of you.
Yeah, that's like ultimate goal.
Yes.
That become the legacy in your industry.
I love
right?
it. I love it.
And that is the long-term game. I mean, until Tony Robbins become who he is today, how many years he have been in the market, right?
Exactly.
And yeah, but it's really true that it's not easy to make money online, to be honest. At the very first time I transit to this online world, I did the burn the boat. As people say, you have to be all in. It wasn't a smart move for me
Okay.
back in the day, like 3 years ago. But yeah, as you mentioned, by the light bulb moment, the both positive and negative things, it leads me to where I am anyway. And I have to appreciate those experience, because if not, I wouldn't be here as well. And one thing that you mentioned is very important. I used to be a person who changed niche every day. I could say that, like, just keep changing, like this not working, this wasn't working, and I just keep changing, and I forgot actually I serve who I used to be. And that is the easiest avatar, let's say, that I could help. I don't even have to prepare anything about that information. It's already in my head, because I used to be like them. And people still struggling about that, like a lot of people. And thinking about this, like you build this, the whole metaphor like this, right? And if all of your clients able to serve who they were, that is totally unique selling point already. And there is no intersect at all, because it's who they are and who they can help. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's really good.
I think leading on to what you just said, it's oftentimes we get locked into a scarcity mindset where we don't think that there's enough people out there for us to serve with our particular niche, or we lose value in who we are and our experiences. And I kind of put that down to the education system, because the education system says that unless we give you a stamp or we give you a qualification for a particular degree or niche, then you aren't qualified for that. So we have loads of people walking around with amazing talents and skills, but because they don't feel that they've formally gone to an education center to learn it, they don't believe that it has any value. And we devalue ourselves all the time. And I have one of my mantras is let no skill be wasted. And one of the things that I look at with my clients and the people that attend my academy and my trainings is we look at, yes, you've got your formal educational skills that you study to get yourself a job. But what were those talents that you just had a natural propensity for? Don't underlook those. And I always share the story of a doctor who trains for 7 years theoretically to become a doctor. But the only time that they can really become a doctor is when they go into the marketplace and they actually help. They go into their profession and they start physically doing the work and actually proving that they can help their patients. So I say all of that. Why is that the case? Because the institution understands that nothing really beats life experience. Nothing can beat it, because through life experience, you are challenged, you are pushed out of your comfort zone, and you have had to physically learn how to overcome something. Let's look at something as simple as depression, okay? Not simple, I take that back, but let's look at depression, okay? Now, let's say theoretically you were going through depression and you suffered from it for a very long time. And I know we all have it at different points in our lives. But somehow along the way, you've learned the value of how to overcome that, so that you are now able, because we know how crippling it can be. Sometimes you don't want to get out of bed. You know, you don't want to face the world. It stops you from being able to connect with real life. But you through your life experience have learned how to overcome that. And now you're able to live a fulfilled life, let's say. There are many other people out there that haven't had the ability or learned how to do that and are suffering. And if you could create a brand or your personal branding and begin to share that message and show them a way out, that is so powerful. That's more powerful, let's say, than necessarily going to a doctor who is going to give them, let's say, a pill to overcome the challenge. Do you understand what I mean? And so there are just so many people out there, and it makes me sad to think of how much knowledge is out there ready to be shared, but many people are being held back for whatever reason it may be. And by exploring who you are and connecting with your personal brand, it will unlock your unfair advantage and really begin to help you to see the world in a very, very different way, and how you can really begin to turn who you truly are into something that makes impact, while at the same time being paid to do so as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could hear from you at the time before, but like I hear you now, and I hear it really loud and clear. And I can be one of the person who confirm that, because before that I have problem with my self-esteem, let's say. My accent is somehow one of the big thing that is the fear of the unknown, as you mentioned. I have to overcome many things, like confidence on the camera like this. Doing podcast is not easy, everyone, to be honest. It needs to overcome something, and as a Thai person who is like living abroad or something like that, I just want to make it work, and I want it bad enough. And I think at the time that I don't care anymore. Like, I don't think that however people gonna think, I am gonna serve only people who understand me and want to live the life like me. That's it. That's all I want to serve for, because I couldn't control anything else, but I can control who I am. So wonderful. Yeah, and until that unlock everything, I can sleep a lot better. I mean, seriously, it's really drain your energy though, to work with someone who is not like at the same level as you, either higher or lower, but like it's not resonate, you know. And that is the real part of branding. But when you interpret branding as authentic self, that is like another level. But let me ask you about to become the legacy of yourself, like the long term. You mentioned that we have to build since the first impression, right? And that is how CyberCelebrity Branding helps you, like first start when they know you at the first place. This is what they can perceive from your appearance, the way you talk, the way you speak, everything through video, to any kind of media. I get that. But then how to keep them stay and being in the loop. Either they are ready to buy, not yet to buy, just window shopping, but we want our name to be in their head for the long term. Yeah, what would you suggest on that?
So I think the thing that I can share there is understand that the next stage, once you've unlocked all of that and who you are, is then to look at creating your own recipe or formula to doing something. You need to create a next step. Okay, so there's two parts. There's social media, which is a great tool. If you give a great message and you're sharing content on your social media, and you're giving access to who you are through social media, that becomes a great forum for you to touch base with people on a regular basis. Okay, but what we have to recognize is that ultimately the human nature can be selfish, and people are on a path to try and find answers to problems that they have. They really want to, they're doing a lot of this stuff to kind of really get to the root of a problem that they have, looking for a solution. Sometimes it can be for avoidance, but most of the time people are looking for things to help themselves. Whether or not they take the next step, that's a different story. So once you step into that realm and you decide that this is what you want to do, then it really becomes important that you offer your audience the next step. Okay, what is the program? What is the service? What is the product that they can now use to begin to get the result that you're talking about through your branding and your messaging? And while you're working on social media and you're keeping that buoyant, you have to be working on that element too, if you really want to turn this into a business that you can sustain online. Okay, and again, it doesn't need to be. What often happens is people feel that they don't know enough yet to really step out there and do something. Okay, but then what you need to look at is packaging up what you do know, get used to sharing that, and obviously your price point will reflect that. Okay, and then looking at what you need to do to plug the gaps that you can begin to grow. And oftentimes your biggest learning is when you're out there in the marketplace and you're actually doing. That's when you really understand what was once theory. You actually begin to understanding on a deeper level. So in terms of creating your legacy, it's about, again, just really spending time with yourself. I loved how you put it. You said understanding that you can help the older version of yourself, but really sitting with that and understanding the incremental steps that they need to take in order for them to get to where you are presently today. And once you know that, then you've kind of put that down on a piece of paper and you've got all that information out of your brain, it's then looking at, okay, these are the steps that they need. What exercise or what resource could I create to help them to get that particular learning? And then you begin to put those pieces and those resources together. And it could be a video. It doesn't need to, or it could be a blog post, or it could be something that you write, okay? And you package it up. As a result, these tools begin to be things that once you've used them, people have received benefit from them, they never go away. They become assets. They can become things that you can give away for free later on, while you then develop the next thing. So one of the things I would definitely say is that if you are right now starting out and you're wanting to start the personal branding journey and getting your message out there, first of all, be using social media, understand, but also at the same time, have your own world. And that could just be like a landing page, which collects people's information like their email address and their name. So that as you begin to put the pieces of the puzzle together, you can now start nurturing that audience, okay? And you can start building a closer relationship with them through the power of email. Again, email is one of those things where, you know, not oftentimes do people open your emails. Not often do they sometimes end up in their inbox, okay? But it's no different to being on social media and the algorithm stopping your post from getting to a certain group of people. You know, I think everyone realizes now when you post something on social media, you may have a following of 2,000 people or 200 people. Not all 200, not all 2,000 people are going to see that post. And the reason is because of the algorithm. It's designed to actually release it to a group of people, depending on the interaction that happens there. It then leverages it out to more of your audience, but it will curtail in the end. Also with social media, it's out of your control. And one of the things that I feel about having legacy is we're talking about is being in control of your own business, you know, your own assets. So if everything that you do is via social media, I need to tell a story here. So I had a friend of mine who had an Instagram following. They'd been working on their Instagram for a number of years and they had amassed a really big following. Okay, we're talking 20,000 followers. And then overnight, through no fault of their own, they just lost access to their Instagram account. Now, I challenge you all to try and contact Instagram. Or I challenge you to try and contact Facebook. It's almost impossible because they're designed not to have people connecting with them because it's about just staying on the platform. So they now literally can see their account. They can see the followers. It's diminished now, but they can see the followers, but they can't actually access the back end of that account. So they've had to start all over again. Now, could you imagine how demoralizing that can be and how much of a setback that can be? It wasn't a very pretty journey back to recovery, to be fair. And they didn't have email addresses. They didn't have names. They didn't actually take the opportunity to have their own world. So they're literally back at square one. And you know what the real sad thing is that their followers went from being able to see them every single day to just not knowing where they've went. And so as a result, they feel that they've just been abandoned. And so they move on when they don't. The truth of the matter is they just weren't able to get back into the back end of their account. So that's something to really bear in mind. If you want to build a legacy, it's also about owning your own intellectual property. So I would always say, even if you don't have a website yet, you just want a basic landing page. You want to be able to give away something for free because you need to incentivize people to do what we may perceive as basic, which is maybe like or share your post or comment on your post. It's so difficult. Okay, it's difficult to get people to take the smallest of actions. And so that's why they say give away something as an incentive so that they can come into your world so that you, as you grow, they can begin to grow with you. So that's the essence of what I would say. And I think how branding fits into all of that. Your audience need to see, hear, and feel what they want to feel from you on a daily basis. It's not just about you, okay? And that's what your branding does, because your branding fuels your entire process, because your branding effectively is your messaging. And if you get your messaging wrong along the way, your process could collapse. And that's where a lot of people who are in business right now that are struggling to grow their business or to scale their business, and they're trying everything. They're doing Facebook advertising, they're doing Instagram advertising, YouTube advertising, they're creating elaborate funnels. All of this stuff, you know, all the gurus out there tell us that we need to have all of this pipeline to make our dream a success. And it just is a distraction. It takes away from the true essence of what you need to be doing, which is effectively communicating. You know, if you could share a piece and you could affect, someone's been touched and resonated with that piece that you've shared, and all you do is you give them a call to action to message you in your inbox, that person will take that action because the communication was right. You know, they feel like you are their friend. You know, I always use the analogy of who would you take advice from, a stranger or a good friend? You would take advice from a good friend because why? You know, like, and trust your good friends. And that's what the asset of your branding does. It gets you into a position where people can know, like, and trust you. It also raises the perceived value of who you are. And so as a result, as you're communicating, people are more open to taking the next step. And that's how you begin to grow a legacy.
Wow. Everyone who's watching until now, I hope you have noted a lot of things in your hand currently. I have a full page A4 note right here. I mean, thank you so much for sharing this in-depth and very useful information. So if anyone would like to work with you in more detail, get to change the way they think about branding, how can they reach out to you then, Jor'El?
Fantastic. So I'm always about that first step, and I want to make it as easy as possible. I feel like there should be no barriers, there should be no blockages to being able to really understand who you are and how you can help other people. And I thought about this for a very long time in terms of, what would be the most convenient next step for anyone that's on their journey. So if you're just starting out, you're in a 9 to 5 and you're looking to create your own passion-driven business and start living life on your own terms. Or if you are currently, you've got a business, but somehow you've hit a roadblock and you're not sure how you can take it to the next level. Or maybe you're doing really, really well, but you're at that point of burnout. You're serving your clients on a one-to-one basis, and you now need to really start thinking about how you can remodel or structure your business, because otherwise, if you're burnt out, you're not going to be able to serve your audience. Or if you're at the place where you have a following, or you've begun to do some things on social media or on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you're wondering, how can I now take this to the next level? Then I wanted to create a way to help all of you to be able to make those next steps, okay? So all you need to do is visit jorelmitchell.com, and effectively what you'll get access to is you'll get access to an ebook, and you'll get access to a 90-minute training for free. And that training is going to literally create the pathway, because, oftentimes when we're in our own individual journey, we're so close to the problem. If you imagine something being so close, so people just take their hands and put it over their eyes. If you put your hands here and then you try to see what's happening around you, it's nigh impossible, right? And sometimes what you need is that bird's eye view, a roadmap that you can see, where you can actually begin to see, oh, I need to turn left, I need to turn right. So what the free book and the 90-minute training will do, it's going to help you to step back and look at what this roadmap needs to be. It's going to explain to you what CyberCelebrity Branding is and how it can help you. And it's also going to then give you the 90-minute training to tell you what are the pieces of the puzzle that you need to start putting together, okay? But what's really beautiful about that is when you land on the website, the very first thing it does, it asks you, what journey are you on? Okay, so what it means is that when you get there and you enroll, you're going to be getting information that is specific to where you are on your journey, dependent on which route you choose to take. So I would say that would be the very, very first step that anyone right now should do. It's totally free. I put a lot of heart and soul into it, and it's going to give you some great information that I'm sure you're beginning to see. I look at branding very differently to how many people look at branding, especially personal branding. So this is going to really give you an insight into that. And then another nice gentle step, I'm really excited about sharing this because it's part of my mission and my goal is I've created an academy called the Brand You to Success Academy. And the Brand You to Success Academy, one of the things I realized in my time of working with clients is that if you really want to make, and my own journey as well, if you really want to make this a success, you can try to do it on your own, but it becomes very frustrating. It becomes very hard, especially let's say if you're working a 9 to 5 or you're working with clients day in and day out, there's very little time for you to apply what you need to be doing or to be researching what you need to be doing to get the results that you need. And I knew that working ridiculous hours in my 9 to 5 job. So in order for you to really get to where you want, the things that I have found that really, really works is coaching, accountability and support, a detailed yet simplified plan, and also you need shortcuts as well. And when I say shortcuts, you need someone to say, yes, there's a million ways you could do this on the internet right now, but for where you are at, this is the best route. That takes so much of the pressure off, okay? But one of the things I found in the industry was that if you wanted that level of support, you had to pay out of the odds for it. 5K, 6K, I've paid, the amount of money I've invested is crazy, and I'm sure you have too, right? So one of my things is that in terms of my mission, which is to help the world to evolve into a better version of itself through the power of branding, and through my ability to share my information and innovation. I wanted to create a way that I could give you the support, the accounting and accountability that you needed, that could give you the detailed yet simplified training, and that could also give you those shortcuts. And so the way that I've been able to do that is via the Brand You to Success Academy. And when you join the Academy, you enter into a world of self-discovery. The Academy looks to meet you where you are at, and then it takes you through the process of setting up your unfair advantage through your personal brand. And once you unlock and unpin all of that, and you understand, okay, how do I now function as a personal brand? Then the understanding of how do you now use that asset to either start your own passion-driven business, to either scale or grow your current business, or to actually begin to engage with your following so that they can actually now start taking the next step with you. And I'm so passionate about this, and why I spend this time talking about it is because I really do now have the solution that I was looking for to really begin to get my message out there in a much bigger way. And it's all about each and every single one of you that are watching this right now. If I can help you just take that next step, if I can just help you to have that light bulb moment like I had when I was stuck and not knowing where to go, then I know that I'm taking a step closer to what my vision is. And I think I want to kind of add as well that, you know, legacy is about understanding that you can't do it all yourself, okay? And one of my biggest things, I know we're coming out of the lockdown. We've had a lot about Black Lives Matter. There's so many different causes out there that's been a lot of spotlights being shined on them. And I've been looking at the landscape that I'm living in. And one of the things I realized is everybody is trying to grab the spotlight for a particular cause, okay? However, what I feel is that if we all join together on these particular movements as they arise to help move forward, then ultimately, if we look at the heart of what everybody's doing, whether or not you want to save the animals, whether or not you're interested in Black Lives Matter, whether or not you're looking after and you want to help, you know, your cause is about, you know, the terrible things that happen to children and child abuse, whatever the journey is, we're all just looking to make the world a better place. So what my thing is, if I can help you to really get your message out there so you can serve and nurture your group of people and help them to grow, then that helps me to get to that objective, which is just helping the world to be a better place. And the Academy is a great place to do it, and it's very, very affordable. So yeah, I'm very excited about that as well.
If anyone interested, just check Jor'El's website, and all the best.
Jor'ElMitchell.com.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I think what you're doing is absolutely wonderful. One thing I will say and I'll share with you is that I think your voice is sexy.
Oh.
Yeah, your voice is sexy. Don't worry about whether or not, you know, whether you speak it, it doesn't matter. In fact, the lady that had one of the biggest impacts in my life in terms of helping me to understand about personal branding, English wasn't their first language. But what I felt was their heart. I felt their passion. I felt their energy, and that's what resonated with me. And I feel the same from you. So that's going to take you wherever you need to go. Don't worry about whether or not you're articulating in the right way or anything like that.
Oh, appreciate you. Thank you so much. You have made my day already.
Not to worry.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hey, thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe here or here. And this is the previous episode. Check it out. See you next time.